position it not as saying we don't have a code, but I'm a position it as saying we get on their code because we're part of their culture. When you get two white people together and then you introduce a black person into the mix, all three of them get on code.
Code
The
switching.
white people are in a position of power, the black person is in a position of inferiority.
What's going on, family? I'm just here to remind you that you can get yourself a copy of my new book, On the Shoulders of Giants, Volume 4 of the Caribbean, by visiting my website, www.ontheshoulders1.com, and help support me as I continue on my mission to make sure that my people have our information, even though, there are many people trying to stop us from learning our history. But hey, we can teach ourselves, and one of the tools we can use is my new book, On the Shoulders of Giants, Volume 4, The Caribbean. Remember, visit my website, www.ontheshoulders1.com, to get your copy, and I appreciate your support.
It's Friday. So you already know what that means, especially when you see me and Pat up in here. But we got another brother up in here, Professor Carl Tone Jones. It's Friday, so you ought to know it's Breakdown Friday. Get your mind right. Put your hands together, clap, dance, get excited because it's about to go down. That's how we do it right here on the Shoulders of Giants. I just want to give a shout out to everybody who's been supporting me, all the videos, all the views, and everything that we've been putting out on this channel, especially all the love for my videos on Monday where we're reading The Chasm, and people are enjoying the reading. People even buying copies of the book. So shout out to you, Patrick. Appreciate y'all supporting the homie. If you don't, and link is in the description of those videos. Hey, you gotta holler at Amazon too, because some of the people been saying, and I've been seeing some of y'all comments. Some of the people been saying no Amazon links ain't been working. Amazon been tripping. We got to roll up on them. So
I'm Jeff Bezos.
Yeah,
First Kyrie, not me.
Hey man. Shout out to everybody who support all the videos that we put out on. I'm putting out on this channel, the clips and the shorts and everything. Make sure you all go to my brother's channel, the IDP Expressions Network 2, and support
we changed
him.
it. We changed it. Back to Professor Carl Tone Jones now.
Oh, go Professor Carl Tone
Jones.
Easier
to find.
Yeah,
it's easier to remember.
Type that in, Professor Carl Tone Jones. Go support the channel, support the brother, and everything that he got going on. So we've talked a lot. I think this might be our 22nd or 23rd breakdown. We've done a lot. I looked at the numbers. I was like, dang, I ain't realized we did that many. We've been talking a lot. But we've mentioned codes of conduct before. We've talked about why codes of conduct should be created, why they should be used, and how they benefit people. But we've never really actually looked at codes of conduct. We don't really know who has codes of conduct, and well, we do. So a while ago, and the reason why I wanted to have Professor Carl on here, because he was one of the originators of these codes of conduct that we're going to be talking about today. Us three and some other people, we got together and we created codes of conduct for ourselves to live by, but also codes of conduct that we would like to spread to other people. And also with the mindset of these codes of conduct may not be for everybody, and these codes of conduct might not even be the codes of conduct that a group of people use, but it's a start. It's a part of a foundation. It's a piece to the puzzle. Hell, at least we got this far. At least we've been thinking this far, and we just got a springboard to be able to move forward with. So today we are going to be breaking down and listening to a conversation between Nick Cannon and Tariq Nasheed talking about the codes of conduct. And then we're going to show you the codes of conduct that we came up with and give you the who, what, where, when, why, and how of the codes of conduct. And we may have to make this 2 parts, but we just really want to break down these codes of conduct because we talk a lot about putting things into action, and we wanted to show you guys some of the things that we have put into action. We want to be different. We want to be more than just talkers. We want to be able to show you, and over time, we're going to show you more of the things that we've done in the past and the things that we're doing now. But this codes of conduct is just something that we created. Like I said, codes that we live by and codes that we are working to have a greater number of people be able to live by as well. So with that being said, y'all men's is ready.
Yeah, we ready, bro.
I forgot where I was for a minute. I thought I was in these streets. Now, y'all men ready. All right, let's do this. Like I said, conversation between Tariq Nasheed and Nick Cannon. Let's get into it.
Is that you truly a way for us to elevate and operate, or is it just a lost cause and that's just information that we have to debate with?
What we have to do, black people, the thing that we haven't done is get a code, meaning a way to deal and react with each other like other dominant societies do. When white people come around, they get on code with each other. Even if they don't know each other.
Get on code.
They get on code. No matter where they're from. You can get a white man from England and take him to Australia. They'll get on code with each other once they get around us.
Right.
So they understand to have codes with each other is how they maintain dominance, how they maintain their power. We, on the other hand, we get off code with each other, meaning a lot of times we get around each other and we do things to undermine each other.
Right.
We get around each other and start trying to show out in front of white people and try to pander to them, and we don't look out for each other.
Right.
That's not having a code.
So I want to stop it right there. Code of conduct, a way that a group of people can operate to be able to build power, build themselves up, empower themselves, be able to operate as a unit, to be able to not allow outside forces to penetrate what they have built and be able to break it down. So one of the most interesting things that he said to me was toward the end when he was talking about when white people come together, white people are on code. When black people get together, and especially when we get together around white people, or when we are around white people, we get off code, i.e. code switching is another thing that we do. For me, a code of conduct is needed. A code of conduct is something that all groups of people should have. It's clear that we don't have a code of conduct. It's clear we've never got together and put one together. I mean, it's just that simple. That's how we know we don't have one, because we never got together to put one together. Now, do you have factions of people like us who may have created codes of conduct? Yes, that happens. But as a collective, we've never got together and put together a code of conduct, never agreed on anything. So the way we operate, like we've said in the past multiple times, is more from an individualistic standpoint. And what we've learned thus far from these breakdowns, when you're operating as an individual, you're operating as a powerless person. And so our codes help to bond us and bind us together. We have a point of reference to go from. We're going to move forward for a certain objective, and as long as we stick to this code, we'll be able to reach our objective, or it will increase our chances of reaching our objective rather than decreasing our chances of reaching our objective, because we're operating in a more individualistic sense. So the codes, to me, codes bind people together. Codes give you a frame of reference, a purpose, a meaning for your operations, rather than just something just like rules to live by or bind people. It gives you a sense of purpose. What y'all think?
Go ahead, PC.
Well, I mean, the simplest way I can see it is, when you talk about codes, you're really talking about culture.
Mm-hmm.
And when you identify with culture is the insulation. Culture is something that if you feed into it, it insulates you. And it's more so a dual, you win twice. You know what I'm saying? You pour into it, and as you pour into it, it protects you. And once you have this rhythm, sort of like reinforcing connective energy of connecting the culture to the code and back and vice versa, what you then have is, a order of operation that not only protects you, but it empowers you. And that code of conduct is, when you speak about codes, those are things that I think about when you talk about being codified. Understanding that there's certain ways we move, certain things we accept, certain standards we have. There's a level of integrity to it. The dignity of that particular concept has to be reinforced. And in a nutshell, by building it, it protects you. So I think I went back to that. I know Patrick gave a great example of that in the Independence Day Project when asked about what culture is. So I mean, I'm gonna keep mine short. That's pretty much what I got.
I'm gonna come at it from a different perspective because I agree with PC. Code and culture, they're in a lot of ways they can be interchangeable when used in conversation. Um, but so I want to position it not as saying we don't have a code, but I'm gonna position it as saying um we get on their code because we're part of their culture. When you get two white people together and then you introduce a black person into the mix, all three of them get on code.
Code
The white
switching.
people are in a position of power. The black person is in a position of inferiority. And that happens no matter where you pull these people from in the world, because there's a global culture at play when you begin to talk about how race dynamics play out internationally. So, and obviously that's not true in every single instance of every single person, but generally speaking. So it's not that because the reason I'm positioning it this way is because if we just say we don't have a code, then the assumption is, well, if we make one, we fill the void. And that's not going to work.
Right.
You know, we've got to undo what's been done and then slide something else in there. So there's something already there. And that code, that culture is theirs. And the reason they don't, the reason we have to come together to create a code in a way that white people didn't necessarily have to do is because when white people established dominance, they established it and they established a position of power.
Right.
People from a position of power, the way things just naturally work, the inertia of the situation is that they stay in power. Things continue the way they've been. So they can
Right.
just flow with it and it'll happen. We're coming into a situation of inferiority or a lack of power. We have to undo what's been done. So we have to and we've had this conversation before, Joe. We have to make a concerted effort to do things different.
Right.
Everything we do has to be thought out and methodical because we're dealing with the inertia of development that's continuing. And in order to stop that, you got to do something different. And in order to do something different, you got to actually think about what the fuck you doing. Excuse my language. We passed the 2-minute mark, right?
Well, Tariq gonna cuss anyway, so
Oh,
go
well,
ahead.
so that's so I want us to come at it. Everybody that's thinking about this stuff, like, because when we just say we don't have this, we don't have that, I get it, I understand it, but I've been in enough conversations now where I understand that when that's the frame of reference, people stop paying attention to the fact that there is already something occupying that space, and you got to get that out of there first. So we do have a code. It's just not one that's beneficial for us. The same conversation PC and I used to have about culture years and years back. We do have these things. They just aren't working to our benefit right now, and that is the problem.
Hey dog. Hey dog. So nah, that's right though. Nah, I feel you because we basically saying the same thing. We didn't develop it. We didn't develop anything of ourselves. And but one of the things you said is very, very, very important though. When you are the winner, you don't have to develop a code. People gonna fall in place because people who benefit from the dominance want to maintain their benefits. So they're gonna fall in place. You're gonna have a couple of scragglers, but for the most part, people are gonna fall in place because they want to maintain the benefits that they get from the dominance. So yeah, those who are not in power, we got to get our shit together.
Right. And let's take that one step further, right? Not only do those that are benefiting want to continue to benefit, but those that see other people benefiting
They want to
try to
benefit
mimic
too.
that so that they could benefit too. And
Right.
that's what we got going. That's the code. And the
Well,
only reason I mention this is because I was in a discussion a couple years back talking about codes. It was after we came up with the codes. Because for y'all that don't know, we came up with the codes a while back. And the question was centered around that aspect of, well, why is it that we have to do this and they don't, and why is it that we have to move this way, and why, like those types of questions were being asked. So I'm trying to kind of answer those questions in case somebody else thinks of it
Well,
while they're watching the
well,
joint.
if you ask a question like that, then I go back to what Neely Fuller said. Everything you learn is just confusing you. They're winning. They're winning. If I could kick your ass and you can't kick my ass, you can't move the same way I move. It's just that simple. It's not like people. Let's stop making this hard. All right, God damn it. If I can kick your ass and you can't kick my ass, you can't move how I move.
Well, the interesting part about that is understanding, and Patrick, y'all brought up the power dynamic, and when power only respects power,
Right.
that's one aspect of it. Like, you can beg and plead, you can protest all you want, but you're not moving anything unless you have power, and either to inflict harm, or at least make the other person or the other entity cautious of what you can do to their power or their stature. So we see a lot of the ongoings, and specifically when you talk about the code, and I agree with you, Patrick, we become submissive to the dominant power. And that's why when you have, and we can go from individuals to group settings, but when you have white folk in the area, when they come to speak to you, they don't change the way they talk. They don't speak with a harder accent. They don't talk from their chest or their belly. They're nasally like they always are.
Hi.
But when we get around them, we perk up. We do what's called code switching. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that part really needs to be examined further, because it's a lot that contributes to the way we think. And I think, even when you go to epigenetics and understand how much has to go into the restructuring of our process, there's a purge that needs to take place, a cleansing that needs to take place before we can really even get into being codified. Because for all intended purposes, there's a little bit of white supremacists in all of us.
And y'all see, this is what Professor just said is the reason why y'all need to go back and watch every breakdown we did, because all of them are connected. Everything he just said is connecting all of the breakdowns that we've done. So go watch them. It's a playlist. Go watch them. So let's continue, though.
Code of conduct, meaning, are we going to do things that's going to empower?
But why don't we have a code? I mean, when we come from, even think like the Igbo and the different tribal concepts, that's all code.
It is. But the problem is when they start bringing us to the Western Hemisphere, they learn from Haiti, because when they start bringing people to Haiti, they were bringing over too many people from the same tribes. They were on code. They knew how to communicate with each other, and they start beating the hell out of the French. Right. So they start learning from that mistake. So they said, we're going to have to start getting a tribe from here, a tribe from there. They can't communicate with each other. Let's remove these drums. Remember, they took all those drums from some of those islands.
Force of communication.
Exactly. Because you can tell somebody, hey, boom, kill that motherfucker at 8 o'clock. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they started mixing up all these different tribes, so we couldn't communicate. We didn't have the same codes. We didn't have the same tribal customs, and that was a problem there. And they made sure we didn't get on code.
Oh, yeah.
So here, we need to have, I know PC has had conversations about Haiti on his channels before. We need to have real conversations about what happened in Haiti.
You finna make some people mad, but go ahead. I like it. Yeah, he said it.
I'm not gonna go in, but I'm gonna say this, right? Haiti was still an example of Black people not being on code. Now, did they get on code enough to put up resistance? Yes, they did. But the spark to that resistance was white people mistreating the mulattoes that were in a position of power over black people there. So that when they started mistreating the mulattoes, correct me if I'm wrong, PC or Joe, when they started mistreating the mulattoes, they said, "Oh no, we not. Y'all ain't finna treat us like them." And they galvanized the community, and that started an issue. But all the way up until the white people basically started showing their ass to the people that they had propped up, they were still out of code. And then what happened as soon as the resistance was fired up and they saw some progress, they fell back off code. So like
Yeah, with Christoph.
I'm not like, so yes, there's a lot to celebrate about what happened in Haiti, particularly for those people there. But if us black folk here in America are really going to try to learn from that, we got to have an honest conversation about what happened in Haiti, why it happened, and what happened after we stopped telling the story, because we love to stop telling the
Yeah.
story
Yeah.
way too
After the
early.
victory. Yeah.
Yeah, what happened next? So the Haiti thing is just it. Every time I hear that, it's always being held up,
But
and there's so much left out of the examples when people hold it up.
but I just want to say this real quick. But to me, that's a point that has to be brought up, especially in this conversation, because it goes with this conversation talking about being on code and us being able to understand what being on code truly means from the core. It means us sticking together and riding together and have this sense of unity by this code that we're bonded by through the whole ordeal from beginning to end. We're on code, we're sticking with each other, we're by each other, we're riding together, we're gonna die together, all these things, we're doing it together as a unit. And
Bad boys for life. Sorry, go ahead.
there you go. But any chink in the armor shows you that the code ain't solid though.
Well, one of the things that and we'll go back to Haiti for a second, because Cecilia Fatima, she was a mulatto. And she was the main, one of the main driving forces behind organization in the fields. And I think one of the things that was what Tariq talked about, it wasn't necessarily accurate, and I could be wrong, but there were a lot of different African tribes.
Yes,
In Haiti at that time, before it was called Haiti, it was a lot of different African tribes. And in fact, the tribes between Jamaica and Haiti and Puerto Rico, I mean, not tribes, but the passage, they were all, coming off the same ships at that particular time. So, in Cuba as well. So that's not necessarily the code. The code is the fact that the Africans had developed prior to, they had already developed common languages and common culture all across, they spread from Eastern Africa to Western Africa. So no matter who you picked up, there were still commonalities because all those tribes still had to work with one another, barter with one another, trade. Even when they were at war, they still had to have diplomats. So, when you understand that they still had a code. And also the drums wasn't just about sending messages. The drums also was about a spiritual cause, a spiritual purpose, a spiritual answering. So there was a spiritual reckoning that came with the drums. So those are different things. And I think one of the things that we can learn, and I think that's a good point you bring up, Patrick. We could learn from the things that worked and the things that didn't work. And when we do an analysis of it all, but the thing is, if you create power, then you have to understand who your enemy is. And see, it wasn't just the French. It wasn't the Spanish. It wasn't just the British. It was everybody white. And when Napoleon went back to France, he stated they got on code because he said this is not about France being the kings or leaders of Rome. This is more so about establishing white supremacy over those darkies from Africa. And that's when they all got on code and surrounded the island with gunships and things of that nature. And so this is and they also, we had some people inside, those same Creoles that were inside of Haiti. They all sabotaged and did backdoor deals as well, which speaks to the fact that when you're on code, you have to protect that code, and sometimes you have to cut off anything that's a threat to that code.
Right.
And that's one of the things we haven't been able to do. We see it now with organizations within our community. People do some of the most heinous acts, and they're still allowed to be in those organizations. We don't even have the fortitude now to cut people off when we witness them doing things that are, not just inappropriate, but insubordinate to whatever code we're trying to build. So,
Look.
that part, I just think that we really need to redress that part that would allow for Christoph to get the back door to the throne by, and literally backdooring, Dessalines.
So you just made me think about, because as you're talking, I'm thinking about code of conduct for Black people in America in 2022, us right here, right now. And we have a mindset and an idea of Africa and African cultures and the African diaspora. And in that idea that we have, there's a code. There's a unified code, because we ideally think that Africans all over the globe see ourselves as one, and we know that's not true. And so it's like idealistically we're like, yeah, there is some type of code, there's some type of unity, there's some type of thing, but realistically, like Patrick said, and it makes I like the way you said that, because it makes more sense and it gives more context, though, because of the assimilation that we've had over these 400 or 500 years into white culture. It wasn't integration because of the assimilation. Yeah, the semblance of code that we do have is still a code that supports and props up white supremacy, white culture, because like we're talking about code switching. When I was at FAMU, I took the psychology of women class, and we had to read a book called I think the book was called Switching. But that whole book was about the psychology specifically of Black women, but the psychology of those women having to code switch when they within these white environments, but they also put themselves in these environments because they want to win, because that goes back to that assimilation and that mind state that we have, because like we don't like to admit, we have adopted so much of white culture, we can't even really tell what's their culture and what's not our culture. And when somebody tell us that the things that we're practicing is white culture, we can't even accept it.
Yeah, I put it because, like, to take what PC said about there being a commonality on the continent because of their dealings with each other and stuff like that. And I like that you went deeper and addressed the fact that there were in fact a lot of varying tribes in Haiti at the time, because that's something that we hear a lot talking about the revolution there, is that where they was bringing everybody over from the same place, so they populated Haiti with one village. Like, they just went in one village,
Right,
took all of the Black people out of there and dropped them all off in Haiti. Like, but
there's a lot of one village things happening in the Black Pan African. Just one village just populating the whole continent and everything.
Yeah, there is a theme in what's going on nowadays with talking. It's a lot of one. That was a big ass village. But in any case,
but today we say we're not a monolith.
Right. Clearly, so, hey, you know what? You won't.
Hey, we talked about that. Yeah, we talked about that.
But it's akin to if you take a Black person from Florida and a Black person from California and a Black person from New York. They're all going to have different cultures, different views, different whatevers, but they will have enough similarities because of the shared national experience to be able to figure some shit out if you leave them together long enough. Especially if you are nice enough to establish a hierarchy, which then allows a chain of command to develop, like what happened in Haiti. But the other part is just look, here's the thing, right? I'm gonna say this. We need to accept the fact that the Haitians did not win their independence because they beat up white people and white people were scared to go back. They won their independence because they agreed to pay the equivalent of $21 billion for it in modern money. It was 150 million francs back then.
Mhm.
They agreed to pay the demand of the French people. You will pay us this money or we will come back. We'll pay
Mhm.
you the money. They essentially bought their freedom. There's nothing wrong with that if we're honest about it. But when you go around telling everybody, oh, we kicked their ass and they couldn't come back, they knew what was going to happen if they come back. And then you keep it a secret that you gave them the modern day equivalent of $21 billion that I don't even know that they're still done paying off
No,
yet
they
or
paid
not.
them off. They finished
Okay.
paying them off like 2 years ago.
So now it comes to a point where we start having conversations like the one we're listening to, where slight inaccuracies in the information begin to have gigantic implications on our ability to strategize and to learn off history. And that's why I get so fired up off it. Haiti is a wonderful example of a bunch of different things that we refuse to learn because we refuse to be honest about what happened. That was not a great example that he gave, in my opinion, of a culture developing a code and then getting on code. Look, there has been very few times in human history where a group of people have had to sit down and consciously develop a code. That it typically doesn't work like that. We have to do it because we are not in a natural environment. Our development was not organic. There's nothing natural about how black people came to exist in America. So we got to do a lot of unnatural shit to make the situation right. So we do have to sit down and think about, how do we relate to each other? How do we relate to them? What does this mean? What does that mean? What does it mean to be me? These are conversations other groups of people don't have to have.
Mhm.
And hell, most of us don't have the luxury to sit down and have those different thoughts in your head. So yeah.
There has to be, I think, two conversations. One conversation where the real, like the thinkers like us are having to actually dissect this, because this isn't for everybody. This
Nah, it's not. It's not.
the level of sophistication that's needed to truly understand the dynamics in play are not for everybody. You know, it's like everybody can't be a teacher. A lot there has to be. That's why you have fewer teachers and many more students. So you have to have that conversation behind, where you formulate and understand truly from a militaristic standpoint what happened, strategically what happened, how to happen. Then there's the lore. I think it's important to have victory stories, stories that show a win. I think it's important to the psyche. I think because a lot of us don't want to align with being black or being descendants of the African diaspora because we associated with losing. So I think there's a necessity, a necessary aspect that has to show the wins. Now, like I said, like you said, Pat, the honest discussion, I think that needs to happen strategically speaking, if we're talking about the plan for building, a better black community or an empowered black community or a black community with power that actually has a code of conduct that can't be corrupted. When you look at the countries in this particular, hemisphere or the Western world, they identify or deify some pretty atrocious figures, but the lore of who they are represents their supremacy. It represents this. So you see the Mount Rushmore, and people are like, wow, that's just speaking of great Western expansion. No, that was a testament to white supremacy. That's when they finally wiped out the Sioux tribe Indians that were up there. And they built a monument on top of the Black Hills that they killed them all under and starved them all under and forced them into those concentration camps, that currently exist today as reservations. So, but if you listen to the lore of it all, lore of it all is this is just a testament of America, a Western expansion of America, and this is a symbol of the greatness of this country. But truly, it's a testament to white supremacy. In truth,
Right.
That's fair. I'll wear that.
Right.
That's a good point.
I
That's a
mean,
good point.
but ain't that what victors do? Don't victors brag
Yeah.
about their victories and put up symbols?
Yeah,
That's what they do.
Because the correct me if I'm wrong, but those mountains that Mount Rushmore is on, those are actually sacred mountains to the Sioux
Right.
Indians, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's the way
Right.
the Western Gold Rush was established. And they found
man,
gold in those mountains.
These white folk don't care nothing about what other people think to be sacred. If it was so, and then their mindset, if it was so sacred, then why was we able to take it?
No, but now see, we just inadvertently stumbled onto a great example of being on code.
Right.
The United States government offered to pay the Sioux tribe. They won a lawsuit saying that we got the mountains that Mount Rushmore was
The
placed
Black
on,
Hill.
the Blackstone Black Hill Mountains. We got them through unscrupulous and dishonorable means. The United States judicial system established that about the way that the United States acquired this land, and said that the government had to pay the Sioux Indians. I want to say it was so many millions of dollars. I forget the exact number. The Sioux Indians to this day have not collected that money. It sits in an interest-bearing account where it's worth, I want to say, something like 10 times the amount that it was originally ordered to be paid out. They refuse to accept that money. They're standing tall on the fact that they want Mount Rushmore closed down for business and returned to them. That is a perfect example of being on code.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Listen, there are people who are descendants of Holocaust survivors that refuse to ride in German cars.
I don't blame them.
You know what I'm saying? Though these are people this is when people understand the code, and this, but when you're the psychology. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the caveat is those people had an opportunity to develop their culture, and codes come through the culture. Once again, going back to what Patrick said, we're in a unique situation, so we have to create our code. So we can't. So though, I just want to put this in the other caveat. We can use other people as examples, but we can't put ourselves in those shoes because our circumstances are different. But there are things that we can learn though. Right. So let's get through this. So,
even in slavery, they made sure that black people, if they made laws, if more than 5 black people got together, a white person had to be there.
Yeah.
When black people
went gang injunctions now.
Same thing. They start making laws where white people had to be in church with black people because they knew that black people in church, they were in their secrets and singing their secrets because we were on code. Yeah. We were singing them songs.
Swing low, sweet cherry.
Exactly. They were like, wait a minute.
that means somebody coming. Yeah. And they coming to get us all that down over there by the water.
Exactly. Down in Brazil, brothers had codes. They were pretending to dance, but they were doing capoeira.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they start beating the hell out of the life
with dance moves.
Exactly. All of a sudden, he's dancing and doing the Dougie. Then he'd kick your fucking chin off. Exactly. So they said, wait a minute. We got to get them off code.
Right.
All of these things were codes. And we've been prompted to not be on code with each other. And one way they get us off code is by getting a black person and saying, I'm going to elevate you. I'm going to give you a lot of money. I'm going to give you a lot of prestige. So you don't be like them, so you stay off code with them. And then they'll dangle
letting a few in the house.
Exactly. So they dangle that carrot of wealth and riches if you stay off code with the other people. That's why when a lot of black people will go to a white-run entertainment company or any kind of business, we don't really want to click up with each other because we don't want to look like we're getting on code and being perceived as a threat.
Right.
But it said doing the Dougie, kicking people in the chin. That was funny.
Yeah.
But what he's saying, what that summed up, still kind of go back to what we just talked about. The way we operate has to change. We understand that. The way we operate has to change, but as we've stated in this conversation, as we've stated in other conversations, a we have to have a new programming input into our psyche. Like we really have to have a cleansing of as much as possible of what we've been socialized, the way we've been socialized to operate, the way we've been socialized to live, the way we've been socialized to interact with each other, even interacting with white people, because black people don't like to admit it. And that's one thing. That's one thing about us. We're gonna talk shit. We're gonna talk big shit, but we're not gonna admit our shortcomings because black people have an inferiority complex toward white people. We know that. I'm not saying that doesn't mean a black person won't punch a white person in the face. That don't mean black person won't cuss a white person out. That don't mean a white person won't get their ass whooped by a black person. But what that means is we won't the malice that we show toward each other, we would never show toward black people. I mean, toward white people, especially a white person who seems to have power, especially a white person who let a white person go in the hood and he got his shirt tucked in and some slacks and stuff. People act different. People act real different. But it's once again, going back to what Pat was talking about, that's that unconscious code that we are on. Because that was a great point, though, by the way. That was a great point because now we're talking about the conscious code and the unconscious code. So that's that unconscious code that black people get on when you go to the hardest hoods. A white dude look like he got some real business going on. He gonna get treated different because black people understand there's a program that's part of our program that we understand if something happened to that person, it could be over for all of us over here. That's the unconscious code.
Wasn't that a joke at some point? The safest man in America is a white man in a suit in the hood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, when this is interesting part because when you, and it's funny, man. I don't even think I never thought I would do this, but I was watching a Charleston White interview, and
one thing so defeated.
Yeah, I know, right?
One of the things he said was, he said that in a similar way, but he said it his way. Nobody black that's in a gang loading a pistol is thinking about killing a white man. They're thinking about killing another brother. And if you say they dream about killing another brother, but if they had a dream about killing a white man, they would wake up and be thankful for the fact that they didn't kill the white man. And that actually speaks to the degradation of white supremacy, the institutional white supremacy, and the effects it's had on us, to the fact that we sort of like, even the ones who would be the most dangerous to us, it would be still safe for them to be, for white folk to be around them, and that just speaks to the levels we have to go through, the levels we have to dig through to get them on this particular program, for where we are decoding the coding that they have, scrapping that coding and replacing it with new and improved codes. But there's something else to that, and it's the chemical and biological warfare that's taken place in the black community over the last 100 years, where and Patrick and I talk about this all the time, and we talk about this too, Joe, about the fact that when you have an overwhelmingly, fluoridated water base, when you have an overwhelmingly lead-based pipe system pumping water into your house, and you consistently are being fed, toxic foods, wherever the case may be, those things also put you in a place, in the mindset that calcifies our ability to, have to be able to comprehend, to be able to make analysis of our situation, to be able to think critically and think pros and cons, to think rationally and logically, and not, spew out of emotion. And when you think about the effects of all those things that they have on the mind of regular people, you think about the loaded doses we've been served in our community, which is well documented. And then you have to ask yourself, are we at a place right now where we can even have a logical conversation with the majority of the people that might be watching and listening, where they won't have an emotional response, but they'll be able to deductively reason that we all need some type of purge physically from all the things that have polluted our systems to the point where we can think clearly enough to actually have a rationale to understand. I'm using a lot of words here, to understand psychologically where we are and what we need to do to repair and have sort of like a reparation of thought, mind, body, and soul, so that we can get on this path of getting on an actual code that we can actually abide by.
Right. Now it's funny that you explaining the Charleston White, because he don't even understand how he subconsciously play into
Yeah.
the white code. Like, you are the same people you talking about. You
Yeah.
play this out. You are the Charleston White. You are the same exact people you talk about.
We
You are
all
on
are.
code. You are on code with the white establishment. You've successfully assimilated into white culture. That's why he won. That's why he said, "I want to be the neighborhood watchdog. I want to be the one who's snitching on people instead of doing something to help change the behavior. Nah, I want to send you to jail." Okay,
The Sambo. He's the
Yeah.
Sambo
so
of the Uncle Tom's Cabin.
it's funny you say that, because that's one of the codes of conduct that we have. That's actually the last code with this. Because, but
Well,
Pat, you saying something? I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the codes.
no, I was just because look, that's one thing we all gotta admit that we all are. Look, when people move out of the hood, they move next to white people to be safe. That's what they say. You know, they put their guns away, they start chilling, they start relaxing, they start taking jogs at night and with hoodies on, walking around with packs of Skittles. You know, they start doing all kinds of stuff because they feel safe because they're not around black folk. So, you know, and PC, I can appreciate, I know you made the comment about using all those words. That's a delicate conversation. And I think you handled digging into that immaculately.
I try. my mouth's been known to get me in trouble, so I try.
Nah, I think you poked into that very, very, very well.
Right.
But that's one of those other really ugly topics we're gonna have to at some point.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, we got a lot of look. On the Shoulders of Giants is the best place to have these conversations, because, damn it, we got to. I'm down with having a tough conversations. I'm down with talking about the stuff nobody else want to talk about, because I'm down with actually getting actual solutions to what we got going on. But with that being said, though, these are organization we're in, PAX Inc. These are the Black Code of Social Engineering. And social engineering is the ability to get a group of people to behave in a desired manner. What it is usually used as a negative can and should be used by groups of people to solve social problems within their own communities. We already see it in place in the households where parents will commonly give incentives, both positive and negative, in order to get their child to behave in a certain manner. Society does it on a larger scale in several sections, to include the workplace, school, even clubs and parties. It is how we define what is acceptable during our interaction with other people, and it's largely involved in shaping the culture, all of those within a sphere of influence. All right. So, framework of the social engineering. So, the first rule that we came up with is the Vegas rule. And what that is what goes on in the Black community is discussed and resolved within the Black community. The nation is constantly looking for reasons to vilify us and keep us from working together. It is often done
Kanye.
by
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It is often done by misrepresenting cultural differences and inserting negative narratives that are then used to attack the community socially through various media outlets. Kanye. But this can also come in the form of using the words of one member of a subject of the community to attack an entire but different subset of the community, oftentimes creating a situation that is blown out of proportion before the community itself even has a chance to address the issue. These situations are then held in place as a reminder long after the issue has been resolved, with the resolution never being mentioned, thus creating tension. What
Slavery
happens
was a choice.
what happens with us in our communities and within the black community stays in the black community. We don't give a damn about that. But that's why that's the first rule, because we create these codes of conduct based off the actions and behavior that we've observed and we've studied that black Americans have. We talk too goddamn much about our business to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
What? That's why I said Kanye. Kanye is, every time I read this rule, I think about Kanye. When he says slavery was a choice, I've actually heard white people in discussions in person say that slavery was a choice. Kanye taught me that.
But my problem with that is the black people who are interpreting his words for him. They don't know Kanye, but this is what Kanye meant by that. No, that motherfucker meant exactly what he said. He ain't try to be no mythical. He ain't try to break nothing down behind no community lines. It wasn't nothing, no mystical, no secret stuff. He meant exactly what he said. Y'all stop trying to make this man deeper than what he is. The man already told y'all he don't read.
I don't know what he meant. I just know what he said. And what he said
Exactly
was slavery is a choice. And he didn't put a whole lot of, now later on he tried to come clean the shit up. But that's after you done already boo-booed and stepped in it. Now you got, I'm sorry, go ahead, PC.
No,
Go ahead. No. Go ahead, PC. You're doing well today. I'm not.
No, but and I think we have to sometimes leave a little room for eccentric people who,
you mean like Kyrie?
I'm not name dropping today. I gave Charleston White a shout out. I'm chilling after that.
Yeah, that was the bad one.
But right. No, but when because I remember we came up with this concept, the Vegas rule, and it's basically more so about the dirty laundry we have in the community.
Right.
So this is more so about when we have discussions on things that need to happen in the community, when we have when there are corrections that need to be placed or done, that we do those things internally.
Right.
Like even with the Kanye West situation, the Kyrie Irving, whether you agree or disagree with what they've done, the conversation in terms of like addressing him is an internal conversation for the black community. It's not a conversation for oversteppers or people who don't have or are not dealing with us from a place of good faith. And when white folk come around talking about, well, Kanye taught me this is just one more way for them to scapegoat the fact that they don't want to be responsible for racism. They don't want to be responsible for the institution of slavery, the Ma'afa, and things of that nature. So when we have the conversation, it's like, I'm not going to sit across from somebody white and have this conversation about Kanye West. I'm not going to sit across from somebody white and have this conversation about Kyrie Irving. If I'm going to have the conversation, it's going to be with some brothers and sisters who have a genuine interest in what was said and how we need to progress from here, how we need to move from here. But but it's all going to be done from the place of instilling, a resolution that's beneficial to the black community.
Right.
Right.
I just want to say this real quick. Handling things internally and keeping our business as our business does not mean sweeping things under the rug. It does not mean ignoring the situation. It does not mean letting the problem fester. It means exactly what we're saying. We're going to address the problem. We're going to handle the problem. We're going to rectify the problem, but we're going to do it in-house, and no other group of people need to know what the hell we got going on, because you can't complain about people creating the negative narratives about us when we're giving them all of our dirty laundry to air out.
Right. And so I agree. I was being silly earlier, and that's why I said, PC, you go ahead, because but I agree. And we all agree, which is why this is one of the rules. And PC did give the clear intention of the rule. I'm mentioning Kanye because Kanye violates another rule that we'll get to later. But in terms of Kyrie, I do agree with you. I don't, even though I disagree with what he did, and I don't necessarily agree with a lot of his beliefs. I'm not going to be out in public with a bullhorn shouting Kyrie down. Like, I'm not gonna do that. So, but I do think, like Joe said, one of the things this is for is not only do we not want to give ammunition to our opponents, to the ops, but we also, like, there are certain things that for the good of our own community we need to address, and it's kind of hard to address those things when everybody is in your business. And then and in that situation, with I'm thinking specifically about, the great uncles and the great aunts that are walking around our community doing various things that are inappropriate that we need to clean up, but we don't want to talk about. That falls along the lines of those dirty little secrets Joe was talking about, us sweeping under the rug. We need to lift the rug up and just throw that bitch outside and deal with everything that we done put under it for a while. But we need to do that within the confined space, the sacred space of our communities.
Yeah, especially in these social media times.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, people just put everything on the damn internet nowadays, and it's like, it's as we read these rules, it's really even more clear how much of a reprogramming we're gonna need for these rules to even make sense, for these rules to even have a grip on people, because it's like just the first rule, like the first rule it's getting violated right now that we talk about it. Somebody on social media airing out all black people business, like the beef between black men and black women has been spilled on the social media. The beef between white men, and we know white men and white women got beef between each other. Everybody know that. That's a part of American history. Everybody know that. But their business ain't spilled out onto social media like ours have.
Well, they also have countermeasures. Countermeasures. I don't know why I'm tongue tied tonight. They have countermeasures to that. So for everything negative that's spewed out is overshadowed by positive propaganda. You know, for any story about, some hillbillies and doing whatever in the backwoods, you got Leave It to Beaver stories. You got different types of images that are being portrayed that suggest a more positive, humane, and moral culture. So they have things to sort of like balance that whole narrative out.
Right.
We don't control the media or the story, so the things that we put on social media get exposed because it just exacerbates the negative connotations of what we're dealing with. And just one more thing about the social media thing, I think it's a curse to a group of people that are still dealing with being in a state of arrested development. So a lot of people saw social media as this big giant new toy instead of handling with the type of responsibility that comes with putting your voice and putting your name on things when you put it out there. And that's something we're still suffering from, and it's like a snowball going downhill. Now we're dealing with an avalanche of it all, and we got shovels and cups and buckets, but we can't. It's really hard to contain at this point.
Yeah. So that leads us to the good faith rule, the second code of conduct, the good faith rule. Communicate in good faith to identify issues and problem solve. I'm gonna read that again. Communicate in good faith to identify issues and problem solve. Far too often in our communications with each other, we are expecting negativity, usually in the form of not believing someone will do what they say they will. This is problematic on a multitude of levels, the biggest of which is that it is stopping us from even attempting to work together. When we interact with each other, we need to be interacting from a positive position of faith and trust. It is only through this form of communication we will be able to hear each other clearly enough to identify problems and then problem solve. Damn, that's a mountain to climb.
Getting in good faith.
Yeah, but to be able to be in good faith, our behavior has to be cleaned up. What this I love the saying y'all used to have, PC: wake up, clean up, stand up. We're gonna have to clean up, wake up, and stand up for that rule to stick to. It's a great rule to have. But damn, Patrick, you messed me up earlier because I was coming in this thinking like, yeah, we finna give them these codes and they finna take the code, but then I wouldn't even think about the reprogramming. I'm glad you reminded me of that. But we have the codes available. But if you can see, we can reprogram ourselves why these codes would be so beneficial to us. Being able to actually do some real problem solving instead of everybody trying to one up everybody, instead of everybody trying to win, instead of everybody trying to be remembered and shit. How do we solve the problems that are in front of us right now? Can we be adult enough about that to do that?
And the answer is no.
Right.
But that don't mean moving forward that we
You
can't
can't.
be. Just right now, look, if we're being honest, right? We celebrate petty right now, right?
Mhm.
Um, and petty is in a lot of regards the exact polar opposite of good faith.
Yeah.
Um, and then when like there is nothing more dangerous to the black community than a mad black person, especially when they mad at somebody in the black community. Let's just be real about it. All that good faith shit just go right out the window when somebody's pissed off at you. And it doesn't even matter if it's a legitimate beef or not. None of that matters. We see too many times in too many situations where somebody will pull out a bazooka and aim it at the entire community because somebody else hurt their feelings. I
Mhm.
didn't give them what they wanted, or whatever the case. They weren't able to manipulate the situation to get whatever they wanted out of it. So they decided they was just gonna blow up the whole fucking building. We have people walking around right now that will tell you that that's what they do and will wear it like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
How do you have good faith when interacting with people like that?
Yeah, we sort of glamorize the most toxic traits of humanity. You
Of
know,
course. That's what being black is about, right?
unfortunately, and that's the code we seem to uphold right now. You know, this toxification, this toxic code of conduct of dealing with each other in terribly bad faith. As Patrick put
Mm-hmm.
it, the opposite of good faith. And so when we're out here glamorizing being petty, glamorizing ghosting people, glamorizing being shady, glamorizing. I mean, there's a guy with a ski mask. I forgot the rapper's name, but they call it the ski mask is named after him, and his name basically speaks to the fact that you can't trust this dude, Pooh Shiesty,
Oh.
right? People call it the Pooh Shiesty mask. I had to stop making the damn mask because I didn't want people out there doing crimes wearing the mask. You know what I'm saying? And I just didn't want to see that. I didn't want to see that with my name on it. But we glamorize those things, and it's like it's cool, it's hip to be in this demonic state of being. And that's literally what it is.
Right.
And now you even have people bragging about being on demon time.
Right. But all in all, though, we have to move towards implementing these behaviors, implementing these thoughts, process, and
Right.
implementing these mindsets. Like this is a great rule. Like
Yeah, it
problem
is.
solving, communicating in good faith, communicating with the intention to solve problems and move forward to progress. Not communicating with the intent to become the victor. Once
Mhm.
again, we're gonna say it every goddamn breakdown Friday. Racism is a team sport. You keep trying to play it solo, you're gonna lose every time. And you make the team stronger by operating in good faith. Intentional, being intentional about moving forward, being intentional about making sure we problem solve, being intentional to move to a place to where we are building together. It's okay to have times where you have differences of opinions. It's okay to have disagreements. It's okay, but you have to work it out, and you have to work it out in a manner to where both parties are, or both parties have the mindset of after this, there's no malice. There's no malice after this, and we're growing from this, and we're getting better and stronger from this because we were able to work this out. That's good faith rule. That's how we have to operate.
I
So,
say.
so the next one is I like this one too. The conservation of energy rule. This one, hold on to your egos. Make an effort to get involved with projects that generate collective statements regarding any issue that negatively impact Black communities. We spend far too much time duplicating work and making duplicate statements. Before you get involved with any project in or in making any statement, see if someone else has already fully conveyed or established what you were looking for. If they have, then divert your energy to something else. two fish restaurants side by side, we eventually run each other out of business. Conservation of energy rule. We you know that hit to a lot of people's ego, because when black people see another black person doing something that's successful, they get the idea that they can do it too.
Yeah.
But support black business.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a because we see people doing the work, but this, I think a lot of it too is the savior syndrome. And a lot of times we talk about the savior syndrome from the position of somebody wanting to be rescued, but we rarely talk about it from somebody who sees themselves as the savior. And when those people see themselves as the savior, their inability to cooperate with a cause that's, pretty much extremely similar to theirs is one of the most cancerous things we have going on in our community today. It leaves a lot open, because that person also, they're not operating from a place of good faith. If we go back to the previous one, and what I really like about the codes is you can actually see, like, one, we start with the foundation and we start to level up each one, and every code is a direct reflection of the one that preceded it. So not a direct reflection, but it builds off the one that preceded it. So, I think that's pretty much what I got to say about that one. I think it really, like I said, they're all self-explanatory. We just have to get down to the ability to have that cognition to understand, what that looks like on an individual basis, community basis, nation building basis, and so forth and so on.
Yeah, and I agree. One of the things I recently had a conversation with Miss Christian, somebody else that we work with, about this. We were talking about starting another program for Black youth here in Charlotte, and she said, "You know what bothers me about this is everybody is starting one of these programs. Why are we starting another one?" And it was just kind of like, you're right. Why are we starting another one? But it's that realization of recognizing, there's 9 times out of 10, there's already somebody doing what you're doing.
Right.
Find that person and figure out what you can do to help. Now, if they're doing it different, go ahead.
You said something. Say that again.
Find that person and see
do
what
what?
you can do to help.
Oh man. Yeah, there you go.
No, but I do. So, and if they're just on some other stuff, then okay, then you start to look at, okay, maybe we need to. But even in that, you always look, we have a lot of fighting to do and adjusting to do, and we don't have a lot of time or energy to waste doing it. So, every duplicate effort, it takes more time to fix something than it does to do it right the first time. This is a common phrase used in business error fixing and stuff like that. So we have to take that same approach to community building. It's going to take more time for the community to grow and develop if you have a bunch of people following behind each other, everybody creating the same thing, and then everybody go out of business, and then everybody loses money, and then everybody needs assistance, and then everybody builds themselves back up, and then by the time you do all that, it's been like a whole generation in past. And we've seen the amount of improvement that could be done in a generation. Look at what Malcolm X did in a generation. You know what I'm saying? Look at what Martin Luther King did in a generation. All of the great people we love to look up to, a lot of them made tremendous amounts of gains in less than 25 years.
It can be done. And by the way, wake up, clean up, stand up, that is actually a term from Malcolm X.
Okay.
That was
Sure
used.
was. Sure was. But I remember hearing it from you and brother IJ, because y'all brought it back to especially my consciousness. So shout out to all y'all for that. But that's a great statement. Wake up, clean up, stand up. I think about that. I think about that all the time, though, for real. Like wake up, clean up, stand up. And as I was thinking about that hard last week, and I was like, I still got some changes to make. So y'all gonna see some changes with me. Just thinking about that and thinking about everything that we've been talking about, like we have to be the examples of what we're talking about. So y'all gonna see some changes with me moving forward, because wake up, clean up, stand up, like we gotta take that serious. We got to live that. And if we're not doing that, then we just talking. The same thing with these codes of conduct. Like I live by these codes for real. Like we live by these codes for real, for real. And we call each other out when we breaking code. Like straight up. Like we didn't create these codes just to say we created the codes. We created the codes to have something to live by, for our people to be able to live by, something positive that our people can build something on. So we stopped that. We're stopping at the conservation of energy rule because of time. So we're gonna have a part 2 with this. So when we come back next Friday, we're picking up with a positive acknowledgement rule, but we will prompt you to go to the website paxinc.org. And that the link will be in the description. Go to paxinc.org and you can read ahead of the other codes that we've created, that we've come up with, that's on the website, so you can see our frame of reference and the things that we're doing. Like, listen, this channel ain't like other channels. And just because I said it like that, look, we ain't like other channels. We are looking, we are working to do something real and tangible for our people. We don't give a damn about trying to make people feel good and people feelings and giving you fluff. We don't give a damn about none of that. This ain't church. This channel ain't church. This channel is the channel where you got to, when you come with us, we the people, we blue collar folk, we roll our sleeves up and we get damn it dirty. I'm ashy now. I like to come to these shows ashy, damn it, because we come to work. This is what this is. This is what this is. You got your hand up, or you doing that through the logo?
I was just touching the logo.
Oh, there you go. but it's just real though. Like we want to, we've been able to see how little real progress we've been able to make over the years. And we've had all these minds come together and give us information. And I'm pissed that we ain't used the damn information. So guess what? Our generation, we got to kick ourselves in the ass and do something different. So we using the information. That's what we're doing. Hey, Professor Carl Tone Jones is the YouTube channel. Go check it out. This is his book. Real quick, PC, y'all know what it is. Tell them about your book.
2020 Through the Eyes of a Social Media Revolutionary. Thanks for the introduction. Appreciate that. Y'all go grab it. Is really just a collection of my thoughts through the year of the tumultuous year of 2020, with all the things that went on. So from what I understand, and we have a copy right here, we like to keep copies handy. We're all authors here, so I was able to get my foot in the door. I appreciate that. And it's just an opportunity to go through some of the thoughts. Some pages, some people will zip right through the book, and then some people will get stuck on a page or a passage for about, for however long as it takes. I know some teachers have been using it in their classrooms to, as talking points for, the philosophies of what's going on with Black people. There's a lot to be, digested. It's not as simple as a read as it might come off, but it's something good to have on the coffee table. Is, you want to have a thought for the day, or if you want to just keep coming back to one, it's all in there. So appreciate that, beloved. Come see me.
Link in the description. You know how it is. So like I say, we're going to pick up part 2 on these codes of conduct next week. We're just diving straight into the code. We won't be using a video as a frame of reference to break down, but we use the video to get the conversation started for our frame of reference, so we can go, so you all can know what we're talking about going into the codes of conduct. Now, we've showed you 3 of the codes. Like I say, paxinc.org, PACTSINC.org. Go check out the codes of conduct. Also, make sure you check out the rest of the videos on this channel. I have a number of videos of victorious slave rebellions on this channel. Like So you go check them out. We was talking about that earlier about the victories. I got a number of videos of victories on this channel. We got a lot of information on this channel. Go check it out. I love everybody. Make sure y'all check out the next video that's coming up right now. We out of here. 2 fingers in the air.